Hey, sports dads, are you ready for the best combination of fatherhood and football talk? Well, let's go.
It's that time to have a conversation about fatherhood and football and relation. Ready, set, hut, grab your kids and huddle up. We might get deep, but just run it up the gut. So put your jersey on and clap for the home team. It's the dance thing, yeah, you know what I mean. So tell a friend to tune in if you heard me. To the best show in town every Thursday. Fatherhood and football, it's a dad's thing. Fatherhood and football, it's a dad's thing. Fatherhood and football, it's a dad's thing. Fatherhood and football.
Touchdown!
Welcome to a Dad's Thing podcast, Fatherhood and Football. I am James Simmons, your in-studio host dad of two amazing daughters. I'm a former middle school, high school, and college football coach, as well as a former wide receiver at D1AA Fordham University in the Bronx. Today we are joined by Cory Bailey. Cory and I played together at Fordham from 1994 to 1997. Cory was a two-time All-Patriot League center in 96 and 97, as well as team captain and MVP our senior year. Cory played professionally with the New York Giants and Rhein of NFL Europe. Cory has over 16 years coaching on the collegiate level, with his most recent stop, Coastal Carolina, 2013-2017. Today, Cory and his wife, Lisa, are raising their four beautiful daughters, Olivia, Stella, Fiona, and Charlotte. Cory, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, James. It's great to hear your voice.
Man, it's always good to hear from you, my bodyguard. We came in together in 94, first recruiting class for Coach Quartaro and the crew there. And, man, it's been good ever since, man.
Yeah, it has. I mean, we were so lucky to have such great mentors in that coaching staff, starting with Coach Q and Coach Mariani, Coach Pasegna, Coach Shinagra, you know, down that whole list, Coach Darrington. Just lucky to have such, you know, good role models and people that really cared about us. And I think that allowed us to develop some really deep relationships.
Definitely. Deep relationships with them, you know, because I know, you know, probably over your career, and we're going to talk a little bit more about coaching. You know, you've probably reached out to those guys as a coach, you know, as a guy who's, you know, playing professionally just to, you know, get their thoughts, you know, words of advice. So, you know, they've meant so much to us. And like you said, the relationships that we, you know, as the players were able to form with each other, you know, talking about, you know, 25, 26 years later, you know, I love following my guys, you know what I'm saying? And you were one of those guys that always was online, watching you on TV, just making sure all is good and just following the success. So I definitely appreciate those guys for giving us what they gave us.
Yeah, it was a good time. You know, I think we were able to make a real impact on that program from when we got there to when we left. And just like you said, it's been fun staying in touch with all, you know, a bunch of the guys that we played with. But, you know, I had Coach Mariani, Coach Quartaro. I can't tell you the amount of conversations that I had with them that were football related years after that, and even to this day. So I'm really thankful for it. We were blessed.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it's funny. I spoke to, you know, Coach Mariani a few days ago, not too long ago. And he was like, yeah, I was down at Coastal with Cory and speaking to the team. And he just remembered that. And, you know, if I could see him, we were on the phone. I just saw him, you know, he was lit up like a Christmas tree. Loved the experience. And, you know, it's funny how they give us so much. But then when we, you know, go on our journeys as young men to fathers, you know, how they follow us as well, and they really enjoy to see the success. So it's been cool. It's been cool, man. Definitely. But you touched on something, you know, when we were at Fordham, you know, we were the first recruiting class under Coach Q. And, you know, from what I heard from older players, it was definitely a shift in attitudes, business approach, so on and so forth, you know, when we came in. And, you know, I'm wondering, you know, what were some of those things you remember from our first year, you know, to our, you know, senior year, because we were fortunate to have those guys for 4 years. What were some of the things you remembered, them giving us, and how we helped, change the face of that program?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously we had the slogan "Find a Way." I think we had some challenges at Fordham at the time from facility standpoint, even scholarship dollar amount. But I think that "Find a Way" philosophy kind of became something that I really bought into. And I think they gave us the confidence that we could, in fact, compete with everybody that we played against. And our group was a group that stuck together. We graduated a bunch of guys, and they stuck with the program. And I think you can see that as the years progressed, and as we got a little bit older and a little bit more mature and a little more experienced, we were able to become pretty competitive. And the retention of the staff, I think, was really critical too.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of those guys for all 4 years. And another coach we didn't even mention, Coach Patnode, who I actually worked with him at Coastal Carolina. We were on the same staff together for a bunch of years. All those guys, it was good. I think Coach Q brought a different approach to it, having been at Kansas State prior.
Right.
He brought that true D1 mentality, and this is how we're going to run a program. This is what accountability is going to look like.
Right.
And I think it worked.
It definitely did. And, the accountability, the professionalism. Our sophomore year, we were fortunate enough to play in the Bermuda Bowl. And I remember just the approach of going over there. We were in, shirts, ties, jackets, and slacks, and, dress shoes, and when we got on the plane, because it was a chartered plane, and, Holy Cross was on the plane with us, those guys was in sweatpants, flip-flops, and it was at the moment we saw them, I think we all looked at each other as players and said, we got these guys. And we carried that mentality of professional workman-like attitude to the field, and we won. And
then a lot of us had fun after we won.
we sure did. And we talked a little bit about that, Calvin and I, on episode 1. And you mentioned, Coach Patnode, who was my position coach at Fordham, and you working with him on the staff down at Coastal. And you guys did some work down there, man. I was checking out, some of the stats, and you guys had a nice run, and it's continuing. Now, did the program see as much success prior to, you being on that staff, or was that something that just they started to develop?
Well, I mean, I think they had some success, but not the success that they wanted to, not the success to the level that we were able to have, after we were there for a little bit. And, Joe Mowgli is a Fordham guy. He was the head coach. We could spend a whole session on just talking about what I learned from him. But, I think we were able to really change that program, take it from the FCS level to the FBS level. We were number one in the country at the FCS level for a lot of years. And I got to be part of that transition to the FBS level. And, it was fun. And Coach Patnode's a really good friend of mine, and his families were close, and he did a great job with the offense there for sure. Yeah.
Put up some numbers. The record speaks for itself, and, the program is continuing in success, today off to a 6-0 start and, ranked. So, did you take anything from your experience? And I'm, we haven't even touched on your high school experience, but, from our days of, coming in with a changing of a mentality of a program, what was some of the things that you were able to bring from our Fordham days to that situation as a position coach?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, the first thing is, I played for Coach Mariani. He was my position coach at Fordham, right? And then I had the opportunity to work for him. I coached for him at Iona College for a year. And still to this day, I've been around, the top NFL offensive line guys
right
in the game. And I still say Coach Mariani is as good as any of those guys. But the one thing that he did better than anybody, I think, was his ability to recruit. He was a phenomenal recruiter in the the systems that he put in place around that,
Yeah.
and the tenacity that he went after. I mean, when he was at Iona, he would recruit 50 kids by himself per year. So I think, my role at Coastal Carolina, I was the defensive line coach, which was a switch for me, but I was also the recruiting coordinator. And I think I took a lot of the same systems that Coach Q had at Fordham, that were obviously brought there with a lot of help and input from Coach Mariani. So I think we were, the way we were recruiting at Coastal was very similar to what I learned from our days at Fordham,
Right.
from when I worked for Fred at Iona, and so on.
Matt, we could talk about Coach Mariani for days and hours on end from the things that he taught us. I was fortunate enough to be on his first staff. When he went after our senior year, after our senior year playing, I was up at Iona during second semester, teaching the kids the offense, teaching the guys the offense. We were all the same age, and the things that he taught me in that short period of time, I use a lot of that today. Just his work ethic and just the preparation. Really taught me a lot in my one season as coaching with him. And then I was able to take that to the high school level, because when you talk about recruiting, right, one of the things I always wanted to give the kids, because I didn't have this coming up, is what does it look like at the next level? What can I give you now to help prepare you for the next level, right? So after high school, college, so I was using those techniques and the things that I learned to give to the kids on a high school level, which, I really appreciate that from me being able to learn that myself. I talked to Coach Sinagra not too long ago, and you just mentioned the recruiting aspect, and Coach, 41 years, you're talking about a 20-year window. What are some of the things, if you could give to a parent today about preparing a kid to be recruited? What are some of the tips you could give in that area?
Yeah. I mean, I talk to parents. Well, I used to talk to parents about this all the time. Obviously now I've left coaching, but I think it's with the recruiting piece, it's a process, and I think there's a few key pieces to it. And I'm going through this actually with two of my daughters right now too. Different sports, they're not football players, but I'm applying this.
Yeah.
And I think number one, it's an honest evaluation of what level do you truly project to play at, and that honest evaluation needs to come from someone outside of your family, because your family's going to always have a biased opinion no matter what.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think my daughters are probably better than they are.
Yeah. Good dad.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two, once you know what level you project at, it's determining what it is that you want to study.
Yeah.
And then what part of the country do you want to go to? And then it's, kind of what kind of campus do you want and things like that. I think it's because the recruiting process can be incredibly overwhelming, and you can waste a lot of time in that process. So it's narrowing that list down and then making a plan once you have that list down. And I think what I've always told people is you should try to have 5 or 6 schools on that list. 1 or 2 of those schools should be a reach school. So if you project to be a Division II athlete, you should have 1 or 2 Division I schools on there, because we'd be crazy not to reach. And you should have 3 or 4 schools on that list that are right at the level that you really truly project to be at, and then a safety school. So in a nutshell, that's how I am approaching it with my daughters right now. And that's the advice I've shared to many, many families over the years.
And good advice. I mean, you've been around at the highest of levels, right? You've worked with tons of coaches that, probably have given you some of that information as well, because you hit on a couple of things that really resonate with, a conversation I had with Coach Sinagra. And he said, honest evaluation of the talent. Right? We have to be honest right there. The second thing is the academic piece, get the academics. So you want to get your education, and then the social environment or that, feel of you want to be somewhere that you're going to enjoy. right? The last thing you want to do is go somewhere that doesn't want you, and you have
Right.
a time that is not enjoyable for you. So, no, appreciate those points and those tips, and sharing a little bit about your experience with your daughters, with whom you have four. Right? Four girls.
I do.
And, I will be, calling you probably on a regular as I'm raising my two little girls, 9 and 7. But you have girls that are seniors in high school and then coming down from there. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've got twins that are seniors.
Yeah.
Olivia and Stella, and I've got a freshman, Fiona, and I've got a 6th grader, Charlotte. So I'm a little bit ahead of you.
You're definitely ahead of me, and that's got to be a little different from you. Is this new learning for you? The girl dad and all of the different things that go into that.
Yeah. I mean, it's different. That's for sure. I think it's different and it's the same. I think ultimately, as you know, I left coaching, and the reason I did it was for my family. I wanted, as a coach, the amount of hours you work, I kind of started to realize I'm a father to my players, but maybe not to my daughter. So that's why I get out of it. And so in some aspects, I treat my daughters no different than I treated my players.
Right. Right.
But dad's intensity, I need to check that at times because it can be too much.
No, I appreciate the perspective because, for me, I'm one of 4 boys. My mom raised 4 boys, and now we're blessing her with all of the granddaughters. But it's a different area. And some new learnings. Do I treat them well, first of all, I don't have any sons, so I don't know how I would treat my son, but no, I treat them just like the little human beings that they are, with respect, love, and care. And I get you with that intensity. I have to, gauge, sometimes, am I being a little too tough, or, do I just, it's all about fun, right? But it's definitely a learning experience. So I'm going to be hitting you up. I'm going to hit you up.
I'll be there for you.
So what are some of the things, right? Because, they play sports. I think it's volleyball now, right? That might be the big sport. What are some of the things as a dad who's played football, who's coached football? How do you help your girls with their enjoyment and their advancement in the games that they play?
Yeah, so I think unlike you, I've kind of made the decision not to coach their teams, and just because I kind of wanted to just allow them to go and experience it. I'm obviously there for them, and I've got a lot of opinions and feedback for them after competitions, but I've kind of tried to just take a step back because amongst them, their friends, their parents' friends, I am the coach, so it's kind of a different deal for me where I feel like it's better for me to just kind of take a back seat on that. Now having said that, I think one thing that I have done with them is they go to the weight room with me in the morning, usually 3 days a week. Actually 3 out of 4 of them. The 6th grader doesn't do that yet. And that to me, number one, I think has been amazing for their development, because the truth is there's not a lot of high school age girls or younger that are, working on power cleans and deadlifts and squats and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really helped them, but it's also been it's held me accountable. Because I don't want to be the one the night before that says, we're not going tomorrow.
Right.
So it's been something that we've done together, and I've really enjoyed it. So kind of been doing that, but now that I'm not away from the end of July until December, I don't miss many of their games, and I'm there, and we talk about it, and just all positive. I think that's the whole thing, being positive with them and giving, I do give them feedback and what I think they can do better. But just like when you're coaching players, if they know that you love them and you care for them and you want the best for them, they're going to take that the right way.
Definitely. I've taken a similar approach, or had kind of the mentality, you going into sports, not wanting to coach the kids, but I got forced into coaching
Yeah.
my second grader a basketball team, because if they didn't have a coach, they wouldn't play. So I'm like, all right, let me step up. But it was a great
Yeah.
experience for her, and it was a great experience for me, because lots of things were already set up that I didn't have to be the one making lineups and substitutions. All of that stuff was taken care of. But she had a good experience. I got to do it one more time, for my younger one. And then after that, I just want to be dad. I want you to enjoy your sports. I want you to listen to your coach. If you have some questions for me afterwards, we can definitely talk about it. So
Yeah.
love the approach, and, love the working out together. That's
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. That's great. Definitely. And, 16 years coaching, right? And you said you wanted to make a shift, to not be in the grind of a season, recruiting and all of that stuff. Could you talk a little bit more about that for some dads that might be out there that are in that spot? How did you balance that time?
It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it was hard because we would start training camp at the end of July. And then you're 7 days a week until mid-December,
Right.
Straight through.
Right.
And I loved it. And I tell everybody this: if I were single, who knows where I'd be, but I'd still be coaching.
Right.
The challenge for me, and I guess year one when I first stepped away, I was not a happy human being, and my wife knew it, my kids knew it. It was really, really hard for me, because if that's what you do for the majority of your career, it's what you know and it's what you love. But now that I'm a couple years out of it, I couldn't imagine not being able to go to my daughter's games and swim meets and,
Mm-hmm.
All those things. So, it's hard. The thing I miss the most about it is the relationship piece. And
Right.
as you know, I'm in the corporate world now, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to replicate that. What I loved about coaching the most was having the opportunity to develop these relationships with my players that last forever. And, I have players to this day calling me, "Hey coach, I'm getting married. I'm having a baby.
Yeah.
My father just passed away," or something like that, where you still have that relationship.
Right.
So
That connection.
I haven't figured that piece out yet. And I do still miss that, but, to be there for my daughters and see them compete and do all those things, it's worth the trade.
Definitely. Definitely. And, you said it, when you're, a younger dad or a single guy, you have the ability to do what the job calls for you to do, and as the kids get older, and you said you want to be there, things had to shift. So I appreciate the fact that, you can share that with the audience, and some of the struggles, because these, that's part of who we are. Right. And that's who I remember, in 94, coming into, the training room, to get weighed and get your numbers taken, first day, freshmen come, and I'm looking at you, I'm like, that guy's not supposed to be in here. Why isn't he in the Giants locker room right now? Because this dude is huge. So it's a lot of us. It's a big part of who we are. So thanks for sharing that. I know you still stay close to the game. I've heard a couple of your shows. I think you do a breakdown of the Patriots. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do it when I can, and I think that's the thing. Like I coached at Stonehill College in the spring, coached the offensive line. I loved it. But I'm 9 months into a new company, and I just realized that I couldn't do it. Or I couldn't do it the way I knew I needed to do it in order to do it the right way. So I've still been trying to fill that void of my identity or a lot of my identity has been centered around football. So the Patriots thing, doing that's fun, and it kind of keeps my head in the game a little bit, other than just sitting on my couch watching them play.
And here I am, a Jets guy, plugging the Patriots. You can tell how long away from the game I've been in some regards.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but I still, what's that?
I said it's hard to be a Jets fan nowadays.
Very much so. For the last several years, that's been my case. But like you, that was definitely, a process. When I came out of school and I coached, I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? Because this has been such a big part of my life for a long time. And, for me, I was able to, find work working with young guys, and using my football background, to kind of be a coach in their life. And that kind of filled the void for me. But, again, I've not played at, the highest of levels as you have.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you're everything I remember of you. You're that kind of person where you want to truly impact the world other than, bottom line. And it's admirable what you do, for sure.
Appreciate it, man. And even in school, that was the approach. And, like I said, I called you my bodyguard. There was nobody, messing with me. The team voted me to, be a student athlete mentor, so you guys, helped produce the man that I am today. You guys had a lot of faith, courage in me. And the other thing is a lot of respect. This is one question I wanted to ask. Have you come across any players smaller than me in your 16, 17 years of coaching? 5'5", 140. Is there anyone smaller than me that you've come across?
The closest guy we had to that, who was actually, he actually reminded me of you quite a bit. His name was Devin Brown. He played for us at Coastal. He wasn't as small as you, but he was probably 5'7", 160. He had dreads. He had all that. He's still got hair, so but he's younger than you, so we'll give him some time.
Yeah.
But he was just like you, fast and quick, and could return and do all those things. He was slot receiver, was smart. Every time I saw him, I used to think of you. So. But he was bigger than you.
So I still hold the mark for at least a couple of coaches that I've talked to. The smallest guy. Yeah. Well, love that, man. Appreciate it. I always love to, give the guest a last shot on, something that has been important to them in the game of football that they've carried out, through their lives now, something that helps them, make an impact, with their family, their kids, or whatever it is, man. Would love to give you that opportunity to share.
Yeah. I mean, I think, one of the things that I think about all the time is, that culture of a locker room, right? With today's world, and not to get all political and all that kind of stuff, but, like you and I came from totally different worlds.
Yeah.
But we as soon as we got in that locker room and got to know each other and were working towards the same goal, we were brothers.
Yeah.
It didn't matter where we came from, what we looked like, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that if our world could ever be like that, it would be amazing, because it works.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I talk with my daughters about that kind of stuff all the time, and they're going through things that are different than I ever had to.
Right.
With this whole mean girl thing and things like that, and it's like, let's just, you guys are all on the same team with us. You gotta be tight and connected. So that's what I take away from the game of football, and it's what I miss the most, just that brotherhood and tightness and trust, and that kind of aspect is what I would bring up.
Thank you. I mean, there's nothing like a group of people coming together for a common goal, right? And staying in your lane, knowing your role, know what it is that you have to do to contribute to the success of the team, the organization, and a lot of what we talk about here is family. What's your role in your family to help your family, be the best that they can be. So
absolutely.
Cory, I appreciate you being on the show today, taking a little bit of time, with little number 5. It's always good to talk to you, man. And I love seeing what's going on in your family and in your life. And, man, if I can do anything to be of assistance, I'm always here for you.
Yeah, same thing on my end. I appreciate you having me, and hopefully we'll get you back to the East Coast sometime and have a chance to hang out in person.
That's the plan. Once we get back into a little bit of normal rhythm of traveling and all of that good stuff, there's a whole lot of folks on the list to see it, and you're at the top of it. So I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate that.
Love you.
All
and
right,
all the best, man. All the best.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Thank you for joining this episode of Fatherhood and Football, a Dad's Thing production, where finding and embracing our roles in fatherhood is a journey and one that we do not have to do alone. Please join us next Thursday for our next episode and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at A Dad's Thing for all your fatherhood-related content. You can also find our podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, and Radio Public.